Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Simone here, and welcome back to Vlogmas Day 5. So today I am talking about the books that I like to read in the winter time. I have 5 recommendations here for you, and these are not necessarily books set in winter or books about wintry times, but these are books that I kind of think are more cosy, or just possibly series that I think are great to kind of hunker down and read in the winter times. I have a festive reads coming up towards the end of Vlogmas, so do look out for that one. But this one, like I said, is just going to be the sort of books that I like to read around this time of the year. So the first one I have to talk about is quite an obvious one, and that is A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. And that is the first book in the A Song of Ice and Fire series. Now, as you may know, this series is about 7 or 8 books long, and each book is about 800 pages. So this is definitely kind of a chunker to get through. It's a book that you probably need to sink your teeth into and really kind of set some time aside to read it. Now, I've read the first one and I do have the second one to read. I also would recommend the audiobook of this one. I listened to the first book on audio and I actually really enjoyed that. I think that, I can't remember the name of the guy who narrated it, but I really enjoyed the narration that he did for the first book, and I'm hoping to kind of do that for the second one as well. But this is a series set, I don't actually know when it's set around the time, but basically it follows kind of regal crown people and sort of fights and wars and battles, and I don't really know how to explain the Game of Thrones to you, if I'm totally honest, because there's so many different stories happening at once. It's very much like court story, not as in law court, but as in like regal court, I guess. But yeah, I definitely would recommend it. I think if you like high fantasy, you'll definitely enjoy this one. And I don't think it's too hard to follow. I know there's lots of characters in it, and there's quite a lot of different perspectives it's from, but I think if you listen to the audiobook, that will really help you out. Yeah, and I definitely want to watch the TV show at some point as well, so hopefully winter is the perfect time to read the books and then watch the TV show. So the second book that I want to talk about is definitely a big favourite of mine. I really enjoy this book, and that one is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. And as you all know, and you'll know if you watched yesterday's Vlogmas video, which was my YA Reads and Recommends, and I'll link that video below, but I talk about how much I love Rainbow Rowell, and this book, Fangirl, is absolutely 100% my favourite of Rainbow Rowell's writings. This follows a girl named Kath, who is an identical twin, and she and her sister are both going off to university, and they have never really been away from the family home. Kath suffers from social anxiety, and the way that she gets around this is she writes fan fiction, and I think that kind of gets her out of her shell a little bit. And she obviously is going to university where she needs to make new friends, and Ren wants to kind of distance herself a little bit. She doesn't really want them to be known as the twins, she wants them to be their own separate people. But Kath is already worried about her father and the fact that they're leaving him at home by himself, and it's just a really lovely story. It talks about the kind of the pressures of being online as well, as one of the other things on this, which I think is really like helpful for somebody like myself who obviously makes videos, because you're watching one of them. And I think that the kind of social anxiety part of it I completely understand as well, and it's that sort of relationship between her and the people around her. And also there's a pretty nice guy in this called, I think his name's Levi. I can't even find it, it's not written on the back. Pretty sure his name's Levi, and he's adorable. Book number 3 is another chunker, and this one is Under the Dome by Stephen King. Now basically I would recommend any Stephen King, because in the winter months when it's dark outside and you're kind of cosily cuddled up on the sofa, reading like a thriller or a mystery book is personally my favourite thing to do. However, I enjoy Under the Dome probably one of the most out of Stephen King's books. I like that one and 11/22/63, so I would definitely recommend that one as well. But Under the Dome is more of a kind of political thriller as opposed to a scary story. So if you're not a big fan of scary books, this is definitely one that you'll still enjoy. It talks about a town where this huge dome appears one day. It's a see-through dome that nobody knows is there, but suddenly they realise they can't leave town and nothing can come in. And they don't understand where it's coming from, and essentially it's about the town changing the politics, and it's like who's in charge, and it's about what's going on and how they can kind of get out of this dome, because they're realising that they don't have enough food to supply everyone. and people start dying and things happen, and it's really a good story, and I definitely would recommend. I think there's a TV show again, so this is possibly something you could do after you've read it. I've not seen the TV show because I've heard not great things about it, but I would definitely recommend the book. Book number 4 is Death Comes to Pemberley by P.D. James. This is a really interesting story because it's actually a kind of follow-on to One from Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, and it's kind of a murder mystery set after the events of that book, and I really personally enjoy Pride and Prejudice, and as you all know, murder mysteries and kind of thrillers and crimes are definitely my favourite type of books. So I really do enjoy this aspect of it. I think that the fact that they've managed to kind of bring in all the characters from Pride and Prejudice and kind of weave that into the story, I think P.D. James has done it amazingly well, and yeah, I really enjoyed this story. It was absolutely great. And then the final book that I want to talk about is actually one that I read a couple of years ago, I think, and it was Isla and the Happily Ever After by Stephanie Perkins. Now this is the 3rd story in a kind of companion trilogy, but you don't have to read them in order. The first one is Anna and the French Kiss, and the second one is Lola and the Boy Next Door. But for me, Isla and the Happily Ever After is one I would rather read at Christmas because there is that sort of just joyful side to the story. It's set in Paris, it's very romantic, it's very lovely, and if you have read the other 2, there is that kind of link because all of the characters show up in the end of that story, and you get to see all of them together, and I think that's one of my favourite things about this series because I just love it. Yeah, I don't want to go into it too much. It's just a beautiful story, and I think you'll definitely like it if you like kind of YA contemporary books in general. So yeah, they are my 5 books to read in winter. As I said, they're not very wintry necessarily, but they do have the kind of vibes that I'm looking for around that time of the year. So let me know in the comments down below what your favourite books are to read in winter, and what type of books do you like to read in winter? Are you the same as me, or do you have a completely different theme around your Christmas reads? Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and please subscribe to my channel to get more notifications as I do Vlogmas this month, and I will see you tomorrow at 5 PM. Bye guys!
We wish you a Merry Christmas.